Coming up in this kick-ass episode of 1914 Excelsior, I vigorously turn a handle.
Okay, to give you a better idea of what I'm actually making here, I've kind of drawn this picture. This would be a side view and then a front view of the original piece that this obviously is taking its place now. So far I've made the longer and the shorter arms. I've gotten this far. I did the taper on the lathe. And then I did the ball feature the same exact way we did the clevis rod end ball feature. So I did that on the mill. And so we're at this point right now. And this piece is all, obviously cast steel. And I'm going to take you over to the bike and kind of show you what these pieces are going to kind of look like when I'm done and how they look on the original piece. So this looks similar to the arms that I'm going to make that'll go on that pivot. And this is all part of that intricate linkage system. So I'm assuming they would have, somewhat duplicated this. Now, from this angle, you can see the profile of this piece. And that's kind of what I can tell from the photographs of the arms for the piece that I'm making. So I'm going to, somewhat duplicate this in a slightly larger format. So that's what we're going to go for there. So let's get on with it.
Well, we better not forget about the how and what now, or what I like to call the meat and potatoes. It's time for a machining montage.
Okay, so I am currently making the longer of the two arms on our pivot. This one being the one that is closest inboard or to the center of the bike. Currently, I'm taking my stock that's in my lathe. I'm cutting a taper. I've got the compound set to 1.78 degrees, or close as I can get it, to get my major and minor diameters over my distance. So let's get at it and finish this up. Okay, so now I'm turning the taper for the outermost pivot on this guy here. So I'm working on this part of it. And I have the stock mounted in the chuck on the lathe. I've got my compound set to 2.55 degrees, or pretty darn close. And we're just gonna finish off this taper. Let's do it. Just wanted to give you a little bit of a closer look at the pivot arm that I made. For these joints, I did TIG brazing using some silicon bronze rod, filler rod, and it melts at a much lower temperature than the 1018 low carbon steel that I made the rest of this out of. So there was no risk of, melting the base metal. And then I was able to just sand these fillets and smooth and round them and contour them, and it really, it looks as if it's cast one piece. So it really turned out well, and I'm very happy with it. Along the way here, I kind of forgot to mention that I did have to remake the front mounting bolt and pivot shaft for our new pivot arm assembly. What was on the bike was just a very long threaded bolt, which was definitely not correct. You did see some videos of me making the nut and washer, and I was doing some single point thread cutting on both of these areas of this shaft. This end being obviously basically the front engine mounting portion. This is a slightly reduced diameter. That's the pivot area for our pivot arm assembly. And then, of course, the nut and washer that I made, that gets rid of that lock nut that I just completely despised. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that as well. All right, just take a closer look at all the stuff we've made in action. So to review, we've got our front engine mount and pivot bolt here. We've got the pivot arm assembly. We've got our clevis rod ends and all the bits that go along with that. And then, of course, there's this, which means we get rid of this. Very nice. I'm very pleased with everything so far. And just to kind of put this all in perspective, this linkage system that goes off the throttle has 14 individual pivot points that are connected to this whole system here. One going back to the carburetor, and then the other one going down to all the stuff that we've made here, and then that activates the decompression system. 14 different pivot points. And the beauty of this system is that, let's say you have the throttle set at half throttle. When you turn these rotor tiller style handlebars, the throttle will stay at half throttle. It's an absolutely lovely, lovely mechanism, and it's just beautifully done. It's just absolutely beautifully done, and it's one of the most elegant pieces of this whole bike, to be honest with you. So anyway, just a little review, and we get to see things in action. So yep, good stuff. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of 1914 Excelsior. On the next episode, we are going to be making some repairs to the rocker arm assembly. So get enthusiastic about that. So anyway, thanks for coming along so far, and I look forward to seeing you next time on 1914 Excelsior. God, thank God that's over. Now,
for some unfinished business.